Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, after weathering scandals that would have ended most political careers, South African President Jacob Zuma secures a resounding victory on Thursday in a no-confidence vote against him in Parliament. Also, land ownership rows are violent trouble in Ivory Coast's cocoa areas. It's the mainstay of the country's economy, but at the cost of ethnic bloodshed and bitter disputes, since just 4% of the land is state-registered with property titles. And finally, we head to Senegal, where France 24's correspondents are amongst the excited locals welcoming the country's first ever child heart hospital. Well, first, it's another presidential win for Jacob Zuma. Having weathered many a scandal in his time, the South African leader on Thursday survived a no-confidence vote, the sixth he's walked away from since 2010. Now, it was called by the opposition this month after a report said that there was possible evidence of corruption and influence peddling in his government and called for further probes. Aisha Ishmael has more.
President Jacob Zuma once again survived a vote of no confidence in Parliament today, brought by opposition parties. The African National Congress used its majority to defeat the motion. The motion of no confidence was brought by the Democratic Alliance after the release of the Public Protector's report into state capture. Once the report was released by the Public Protector, a number of senior African National Congress members spoke out about corruption in government and against President Jacob Zuma. But today they stood by their leader. The Democratic Alliance said they were very disappointed about this.
Firstly, you can't trust all these people who speak out against Jacob Zuma in public, because in truth, when it matters, they come to vote for him. And secondly, that Jacob Zuma and the ANC are one. It's a system now that has been captured by corruption for the sole purpose of enriching one family at the expense of many South Africans. But ultimately today it became quite clear that South Africa will come second and the ANC will protect Jacob Zuma at the expense of our people.
That's how it works. That's how the system works. Not only does it work that way for the ANC, it works the same way for all political parties. Each and every party that is participating here, they will stand by their leaders until the party itself makes a decision which is different this way or that way. But right now, we haven't made a decision about the president. The president is our president. We have said it. We will defend him as the president of the country because he was constitutionally elected. We will stand by him.
Aisha Ishmael there at court in Cape Town today. Well, Kenya's started pulling out its troops from South Sudan's peacekeeping mission. The first batch of soldiers arrived in Nairobi on Wednesday, and over 1,000 more are due to head back over the coming days. The withdrawal is in angry response to the dismissal earlier this month of the Kenyan commander of the UN's UNMISS peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. Lieutenant General Johnson Odienki was let go following a damning report on troops' failure to protect civilians. Nairobi's accused the UN of scapegoating him. Kenya said that pulling out its soldiers from South Sudan does not undermine the integrity of its troops.
These missions are still continuing in many parts of the world as it is today, and even within our region. We are committed in our peacekeeping operations as a credible and well-trained force, deeply rooted in professionalism.
Emergency teams and volunteers in Kisii County in southwest Kenya spent the day trying to get to victims trapped after a multi-storey building collapsed on Thursday. At least 2 people lost their lives and dozens were injured after the building, which was under construction, came down. Many more people are still missing. The US military's admitted that an airstrike it launched in Somalia back in September killed local militia forces and not Shabab militants, as the Pentagon had initially believed. The attack in the Galkayo area reportedly killed 10 fighters and no civilians. Somalia's government had asked the US to explain the strike after claiming that at least 22 soldiers had been killed by friendly fire. Officials there say that the rival region of Puntland tricked the Americans into thinking they were targeting al-Shabaab extremists. The US has often bombed al-Shabaab positions in a bid to support Mogadishu in its battle against the jihadists. Now, this week, Ivory Coast enacted a new constitution that is meant to do away with some of the strict nationality conditions that have contributed to decades of conflict in the country. The rows over identity have also fed into rows over land. And in cocoa-growing regions in the West, clashes between locals and those they see as unwelcome foreigners continue to destabilise communities.
Benjamin Kwaku is a farmer. Like many in Ivory Coast, he believes that land disputes represent a time bomb. Ivorians like him who don't come from this western region and immigrants from Burkina Faso have worked here for years. But they say they are often badly treated by local landowners.
I bought the plot with a friend, and I worked with him. And when the land started to yield produce, someone else came and said it was his land, and he took 2 hectares from me.
In this village near Giglo, a meeting is held to identify plots of land. Many are worried. The brand new constitution says only Ivorians can own land, yet millions of people from Burkina Faso live in the country.
Land in Ivory Coast has become a source of conflict, especially in the western part of the country, in wooded areas where natural resources are under pressure. So we need to clarify this to avoid conflict.
There is a shortage of land, and some vendors sell off plots they don't even own. Only 4% of land is officially registered. In 2013, the government said 23 million hectares would be added to the list, but the project never got off the ground.
And finally, we head to Senegal, where France 24's correspondents were amongst the excited locals welcoming in the country's first child heart hospital. Cutting-edge equipment and, of course, caring combined to offer sick kids a better shot at recovery.
Located at Dakar's Fan Hospital, the Kiomo Centre opened its doors this morning. It's the only cardio-paediatric clinic in the country, and the families of sick children came out en masse. Ngone brought her son, 6-month-old Mohammed, for his first consultation, and a vital one, according to his cardiologist.
There are certain illnesses that need to be treated at birth. If the anomaly is not detected at birth, the child can die.
What I've seen reassures me. I'm happy. I have never seen medical equipment like this. They can do everything here.
The equipment and the medical team alike meet international standards. Local doctors receive training for paediatric interventions in Vietnam. In January, the centre will perform its first open heart surgery.
This is the operating room. I think that with the technical equipment we've received, we can treat up to 2,000 children a year. We have the technical means for that. It's a figure on par with international standards. We are of international standards.
La Chaîne de l'Espoir, or the Chain of Hope, has received support for the project from the Kiomo Foundation and several partners.
We have received 6 million euros. And with the health ministry that gave us the land, the personnel and everything, we built the centre.
We don't want to stop here. The hospital is built, the consultations have already started today. In the future, we'll concentrate on diagnosing cardiac illnesses and preventing them.
Children from disadvantaged backgrounds will be able to receive financial support for their medical costs.
And that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks very much for joining us, and please do so again if you can. Take care.
You love watching France 24 in English.
Analysis from France 24. I'm Mark Owen. These are the main world news.
To the border with Algeria.
Huge lines since this morning to answer that question. But France 24 is also available in French.
14h à Paris, bonjour à tous, bienvenue si vous nous rejoignez sur France 24, préparez-vous.
and Arabic. Featured on cable and satellite systems and online media in France and across the world.